All right, look at this very carefully. Come back to it if you need to. Look at these patterns on the side. Look at these layers. They say the only thing that would account for this is gigantic fungi. Well, let me show you what they really were in my mind, and we'll see if we can find some samples of them that exist still today. Okay, get ready, get ready. It's Roger again. Today we're going over the giant creatures that they are now talking about. These giant fungi are huge. This is on BBC, and they're talking about these fungi that I am going to give you a whole different perspective on them, but here he's talking about these things being down here in the damp and the undergrowth, much subservient to the giant trees. Now listen to what he has to say.
The plants which are up here towering above them. But in the earliest days of terrestrial plants, the situation couldn't have been more different.
Now see, they're assuming that the trees aren't here now. In the early days of terrestrial plants, they're talking about fungi. The tiniest little things, fungi. And watch what they say what fungi was like. So they're saying there was no trees at this point. This is what they say fungi was like.
Strange circular fossils. At first, scientists thought they were ancient trees. But looking closer, they...
All right. This, they say looking closer, well, look what they think these are the filaments from fungi.
Found microscopic filaments, revealing them to be fungi.
No, they didn't reveal them to be fungi at all. They revealed them to be blood vessels. Okay, so this is the kind of stuff they're thinking is giant fungi. They have no way to explain this whatsoever, and I will explain it, I think, conclusively. Now, remember, look at these formations. They're all over the place. This is called Crowley Lake. Okay, so what are they claiming? They're claiming that they're finding these little filaments coming out here and there from these, what they call fungi. I say that is a hair, and this is one of the blood vessels coming into it. That's the guy's hammer. We also found these with sweat glands next to them. Now this red means that there's some red blood in here, and I'll show you other ones. You can see the red and the black. These variegations here are just not eroded yet, but that's how they grow. That's how a hair grows. Let me show you that. Okay, the hairs actually grow in these little lumps, and these just cover them over, but they will erode back to the lump. And here's what it looks like when it erodes back to the lump. It looks like this. You see those lumps? Now, you see the black and the red and the black? That's blood. That's blood. That's the color of blood. And these people are standing next to hairs. And then above this is the skin, and it comes up through, and above we can see those, what they thought were fungi. And they're saying this is a whole layer of fungi. It's not. It's a layer of hair. And this again is the hair, and this is where they see these filaments growing. That's the root. That's the guy's hammer. So this is pretty good sized stuff. Now, this is what a hair actually looks like. And if you can see any difference, I'd like to know what it is. This is the center, and then it has these rings around the outside, and then you end up getting to the skin. Here it is right there. There's the core. There's all the rings. There's that's how they grow. And here's how this stuff layers. Now this is just cut flat, obviously, but that is a hair. That's not giant fungi. They say this giant fungi are huge. Well, maybe there was some, but that's not it. Not in my mind. I can pretty well stand behind what I'm saying. Here's what the hair looks like. That's what it looks like. Now, what does the hair they show look like? No, here it was right here. Or fungi. And here's what it is that, look at it. You see it? That's the same stuff. It's just eroded here. It's all over the place. That's because there was some gigantic creature here. And I'll show you some other places that show this is not an anomalous thing. This is everywhere. It's just so extraordinary that they've just dismissed looking at it. Now they're just making claims that will not stand up. All right, check this out. This is a mole on a guy's face or something. This, I believe, are hairs, but it's some kind of really cornified, structure on, I don't know where on a person's body, but those things happen, and that's what the cornified skin looks like. All right, here's some more evidence. This is a hair follicle. This is about 500 times as big as ours. That's where the erector pili muscle attaches, right there. That allows your hairs to stand up on end. This is the top, right here, where it comes out. And this is like, you see these little layering there? And the hair comes straight up through the top. That's the shaft. And this happens to be a flat-sided hair, which means it's a curly-haired person. This is the sebaceous gland right here. So this just came right off the surface of the earth. This wasn't even buried. I mean, well, it might have been a little bit, but not much. And these two holes, these two dots right here, are from the vein and artery. It's nucleophilic transition. Everything changed because of the condition it was in. The membranes are different. The membranes hold up. And that's why, because they form aluminum silicates, which is because all the membranes are made from phospholipids. Phosphorus is right there. When you boil it down, it turns into aluminum silicates. And that's what coats all my mud fossils. Literally 100%. So this is a gigantic hair follicle for us, but it's not even gigantic. The other ones you see are hundreds of times bigger than that. You see that? That's this, right where it comes out from the top. And this is down inside. These little layers are all the little layers around the hair. And a flat-sided hair means it's a curly-haired person. All right? And this is all the guts of the hair down below. All right, so don't forget, at first they thought these were ancient trees, just gigantic things, and they thought they were trees.
But looking closer, they found microscopic filaments.
Those are blood vessels. Okay, this is just a quick shot of these gigantic hairs coming out, and right around them is this stuff. It's the cornified layer. That means the outside heavy-duty layer that's made to just break off and, it wears off. That's your skin. And below that, you get down to a layer where you're not supposed to penetrate it. This is the layer that they just discovered. And then below that is all these little balls that allow your body to move around. I mean, this is extremely magnified. And then, of course, this is the hair coming straight up at us with all this different stuff. And then the skin, dermis is skin, around the hair. So this is the hair coming up right out of this root. All right, and there's the root. There it is right there. There's the hair follicle. And it comes up from here and grows right out. Now, let's take a look at this in reality. All right, this is probably the best shot I have to give you the whole idea of till you get way down into the basement layer in where you have all those balls, which I will show you in a second. But here's where the root of the hair starts, the erector muscle, sebaceous gland. There's all kinds of blood going on down here because you need that to service all this tissue. When you get out to here, there's almost no blood. This out here, this cornified skin, is just virtually nothing. And the corneal layer, which is the really tough outside layer, and then these hairs grow up, and then as they eroded, all of that stuff, if it was a white skinned person, it would just be completely white. And that is exactly what happened at Crowley Lake. This is just stubble. And this is white skin, which has eroded. It was probably up here somewhere, and it's eroded down, and some of the hair is sticking out of it. It's not that this is sticking out and the guy didn't shave, I don't think, because I'm seeing blood on a bunch of them here and there. And this again is the right up close and personal outside. It's all over there. And underneath is the skin. Now the same thing happened in the United Kingdom over here. Look at this. this is what your skin looks like. And the organs, these coatings. Well, before I get into this, let me just explain. They never even knew this was here. This has just been recently discovered. And here it is right here, new organ. You see, meet your interstitium, newfound organ. This is 2018. They published this particular article that says there's a new organ. They never knew it existed before. And it's this layer right here. Up here is that layer they said they could see the filaments and they could see the hair coming out of that layer. And then they said, oh, there's little filaments, so it has to be gigantic, huge fungi. And you see the size of these things. They're absolutely enormous. Now, and they could accept that for some reason. And there was no trees here, though. It was only fungi is what they're saying. Now, this is a brand new layer. They never knew it was here. And you see all these little balls? You see all those little balls? Those are the things you're seeing in the anatomical just drawing. This is the real picture. Now up here is where the little filaments were that they were talking about, and the hair is growing up. This just doesn't have any hair because this coats all your organs as well. This filament here, and I have other ones here, hold on. This is the membrane, the newfound organ, the interstitium, right there. That is it right there. And it coats right here. And in the Mudfossil process, it ends up, because of the heat that was related to this process, it ends up turning into aluminum silicates, which coated all this. Now, I don't want to get too deep into this right now, but hold on. Okay, a lot of this new research relates to the new organ they found, which is this interstitium layer, which is what coats all the mud fossils. And it's a special layer. It's constructed of certain collagens. And they are this new layer that protected all the mud fossils. And here's where they're seeing these microfilaments growing, and the hair is growing up out of them. So they considered it to be fungi, and it's not. It's the coating of organs and everything else. And I'm going to tell you stuff. It's got a lot of nutritional value. Watch this. Well, before I do that, let me be sure you understand. You see these little balls here? Those are right below this interstitial layer. That allows you to stretch this way and come back to where those balls are anchored. They have little straps on them. You can't really see them well. And here's what happens to them when they erode. Look at it. Those are all those little balls. You see them all like green little mice? They're everywhere. They're everywhere. That's because this was a skin of some creature. Now, the moss grows very, very well on a non-rolling stone. These babies are loaded with nutrition. And that's why they're green growing there. And it's just because it's eroded away and it hadn't had a chance to leach out. So there's still a lot of nutrition in those little green jobbers. Now, what else can I show you? Okay, here's some that are in Huntington Beach. Remember, this is the layer we're talking about. They just discovered this, just discovered it. And here's all those little balls that I was talking about right there. And that's what all those little green mice were. And that's what they are here. But once it gets flattened out, all these fluid-filled bags go away. And by the time they saw them in autopsies, they never saw this. That's why it's a brand new organ. But these little balls are tough. And these springs are pretty tough too. All the rest is just flopping. It's a fluid-filled highway. All of that stuff goes through the body and brings all the enzymes and bacteria around it to do its work. And this is what it looks like. And here's a closer shot at it. Here's real close. And that's what it is. It's all over the body. And these are the filaments they saw growing. And they say, oh, that's got to be fungi. No, it's not. It's some guy's body. And here's the body tissue at the top, the skin or the mucosa they call it. And this right here is that layer of interstitium. The first, most red layer at the top is where most of the bacteria live. These other, well, that's what I think anyway. The white blood cell, that's the line of demarcation. You can't go past that, otherwise you're invading vital tissue. Out here you get invaded all the time. You get cuts, I get cuts 10 times a day. You see again? These are very, very, that's stuff growing on there. That's some kind of moss or something. And these are those gigantic balls. And they happen to be big because this creature was big. And it's all eroding. This is on Huntington Beach in United Kingdom. And these are the Moki marbles, another layer of skin. We have to start looking at our planet a whole different way, because it's nothing but biology as far as I'm concerned. All the ancient texts talk about giant creatures that were turned into the geology. They were turned into the rocks. And Ovid wrote of this explicitly in Metamorphosis. This, if you can laugh at it, laugh at it. I'm not laughing anymore. Okay, I'm just going to blurt it out. Ovid wrote Metamorphosis, which was an epic. It was as well received and as well read as the first Bible, the Old Testament. And what did metamorphosis mean? It means that the gods could change anything they want, anytime they wanted. And that metamorphosis means they could control matter, basically. Transformation. All right, transformation is like you can change a butterfly into a caterpillar or vice versa, that type of thing. Now, here's what it says right down here. He wrote all these books, the creation. How did it all start? Ages of mankind, the flood, Deucalion, who was Noah, and Pyra. It was all like the same stuff basically was in the Bible. And it went all down through the gods, which there were multiple gods that fought each other, and they had superhuman powers. And then it comes right down to what I talk about, is that the earth is made of creatures. He says, I intend to speak of forms changed into new entities. Accompanying this theme is often violence inflicted upon a victim whose transformation becomes part of the natural landscape. All right? Transformation into new entities, into mountains, into valleys, into hills, into deserts. All right, he says this. He says, there is a great variety among the types of transformations that take place. They could transform into anything they wanted. I mean anything. They could go from human to incarnate objects like the Nile River into constellations. They could turn themselves into animals. They could go from animals to ants, and from ants into fungi and mushrooms and humans and different sexes and colors, pebbles. They could be anything they wanted. Literally anything they wanted. And when Typhon, the dragon, attacked these gods, they turned themselves into animals. And it's all written in the history. I'm just telling you what was written. And that, I've been attacked for saying that, but I'm going to tell you what, Jesus Christ said the same thing. He said, once you discover the earth, you have discovered it's a corpse. Okay, this is from the ancient texts about Jesus, and apparently this is what it says now. This is the Gospel of Thomas. He was doubting Thomas. He was Jesus's scribe. He worked and recorded all the things that Jesus said and wrote them down. And these are the secret sayings which the living Jesus, when he was alive and walking around, he spoke, and which Didymus Judas Thomas wrote down. That's doubting Thomas. Now, number one is, he said, whoever finds the interpretation of these sayings will not experience death. Number two, Jesus said, let him who seeks, and you have to seek. If you don't seek, well, forget about it. Let him who seeks continue seeking until he finds. When he finds, he will become troubled. When he becomes troubled, he will be astonished, and he will rule over the all. Now, I don't know what these things mean. I'm telling you right now, I'm struggling to understand it, but I have read a lot of them. Not every one of them, most of them. And Jesus did say, I think it was 56 and 80. Let's just skip to that. But you can run through here. Let him who seek continue to seek. keep, you know, the man old in his days will not hesitate to ask a small child 7 days old about the place of life, and he will live. It was supposedly in the infancy Gospels, it said that Jesus stood up in the cradle at 7 days old and said, I am here to save mankind. My father sent me to save mankind, and he took a nap, I think. I don't know. Now, 56 and 80. Look, what I'm telling you is the earth is made out of creatures. Here's 56. Jesus said, whoever has come to understand the world has found only a corpse. And whoever has found a corpse is superior to the world. Well, I can tell you one thing. If you are able to understand what you see, you are superior to a vast majority of the people on earth. They can see it, they just can't accept it. That's the problem. Who has come to understand. Understand. You can look, but if you don't understand, looking has no effect. 56, I think it was 80. Here it is again. Look, almost exact same thing. Jesus said, he who has recognized the world has found the body. Recognize the world. You look at it all the time. You just look at this dirt and mud and all that. No, you recognize what it is, and you found a body. He who has found the body is superior to the world. And again, you know, if you can accept what you see, you're way ahead. I'm telling you right now. People, it's astounding what they can dismiss. It really just absolutely blows my mind. After this many years, very, very disturbing. Now, if this doesn't blow your mind, nothing ever will. You see that round circle there? Pay close attention to that. They're saying this is millions of years, layer after layer after layer. No, it isn't. This one band here is the major support for a tendon. And that locked it right into the bone, which was here. I have the exact same thing here, only my bone is still not eroded. And this brought it over right here to the muscle, which attached here. What that allowed this thing to do was being attached here. You still have to move your muscles back and forth over here. So the tendon has to be flexible. If it was just a flat, solid thing, it was not flexible. And if it was just one big solid bar, that would break. Having all of these layers is just like, literally like iron. Wait till you see what it looks like in the Mudfossils. Remember that circle. You're going to see it. It's identical, and the main support right there. And all the rest is different connective tissue layers. All right, now, pay close attention to this. This right here is the bone. You see that circle? That's the bone in a shoulder. I believe, I don't know for sure. Remember I told you there was a connective tissue dot circle? You see that? That right there is that circle. All right, let me just blow it up here so you can see it. You see it? And it actually attaches right into the bone somehow. And so I believe this sort of locks it in. I'm not sure, but I tell you, they don't pull out. They don't pull out. Now, that eroded right there in the ocean. The thing I showed you said 150 million years. Now, this is in the shadows, so you can't see it. But over here, I have it outside the shadows. Right here is the ball. Right there is that ball. And it's locked halfway in and out of the tendon into the glue that holds it. And this is like glue. And this is the tendon. You see how it's brown from here over to here? There's virtually no blood in there. You don't need it. Here, you've got tons of blood flushing down into the muscle because you're going from connective tissue into what I call abrupt transitions, which you see right here? Right here, the first set of muscles sort of, it becomes weak at about here, and then there's another set, they start to get weak about here, and then they turn into really just gooey muscle. But they have to transition. These are the transition zones. But this is the tough spot. This allows flexibility right into that dot. It can flex this way and this way, which gives you your arm motion, goes up and down, but it's never going to break. I mean, you can rip your tendons out, but boy, I'll tell you, they are tough. So, and this is all connective tissue, and this is the dot right here. That's the dot I've been talking about. And that's the muscle of the bone. And I don't. This has got something to do with how it locks in. And this might be, this it's hard to say, but this right here looks to me like that's tendon. I'm very, very sure it is, because you not only lock in this one point, you have all kinds of different tendons running here and here and here and there. So because you're pulling every different direction. The human body is absolutely incredible. All right, I hope I've made my points. Don't forget, that's that ball right there. And this stuff erodes. It's cheap compared to the tendon. The tendon is the tough spot of everywhere in the world. That's why, like Devil's Tower, that's not just rocks from some magma. No, that is the foot of a gigantic, gigantic, gigantic creature. And it has a wrinkle zone where this tendon snapped. They will have wrinkle zones quite often. That's Devil's Tower. That is the wrinkle zone at the top. When the tendons break, they snap. Boing! They're always under tension. That's what a tendon is. Now, what is this over here? That's blood. There was some bloody spots here. They have a little bit of blood, not much. And there was some over here. But that's why they twang just like this. And they have a skin on them, which is, well, hold on. You see over here? This one here is running out of blood, and it's growing moss. Green things love red blood. I mean, red blood will grow things just as green can get. All right, this is a close-up. This is just barely slipped on here because every one of these had to slide next to their neighbor, and they slid inside of these little sheaths, and those are the myelin sheaths, or the synovial sheath, whatever you want to call them. But they will slide like this, so they can do all those different things. Okay, these are the sheaths that are on every tendon. They can slide individually among themselves. And it's like stuck on there like a gluey little substance that surrounds them as a membrane. All right, this, once again, Devil's Tower. That's where it breaks at the top. That's the wrinkle zone. And we got this look to it too. I mean, it was a foot at one time. And all of the fleshy stuff above has dropped down around the edges. Look at this. This is what it looks like from above somewhere. Here, look at this. This is where the guy died and fell over. This is where all the red blood is. Everywhere you see red blood, you're going to see really green stuff. This is growing as green can be right around where he fell over dead. And this whole area is growing nice and green. And if you get down real close to it, you can actually see, I think it might even be his ribs in this area. But there's white and then there's the red. Same thing over here. It's got to do with the calcium and then well, basically bone and flesh had deteriorated there. And here it is right up close. You see that? That's, I believe, layers of flesh. But green things just love red blood. You can buy blood meal, make things grow very, very, very green. Devil's Tower, and I'm thinking that might have been the second foot. I don't know. Usually one of them gets pushed in the ground, the other one is pushing up, but who knows? Everybody asks about that second foot, and all I can think of is it's over here, and the guy was trying to push himself out of the mud, because they're going to be in the mud. That foot is a little bit in the mud, but not much. This one would have been pushing him up, and that one would have been out, and sooner or later, that one would have just got sucked in, and this one is up enough where we can really see it. Now that one, I don't know, you'd have to get out there and look, but I don't know. Take a look and see what you think. It's possible. It's possible that is the other foot, because it obviously fell that direction. And all of this is very green over here too. So he's going to just sort of melt down. It's all over here too. So I would say the whole guy fell over here. Maybe arms went there, his main body came over here, something like that. But that's virtually no question in my mind whatsoever. Absolutely certain that was a giant, and it looked like a human foot to me. All right, so what can we deduce from this? That's that wrinkle zone. It happens every single time you snap a tendon. It's always under tension. So it's wrinkles here. Now, where are we on the foot? We're only up at this region right here. They pull it back together and they tie it back together. Now, I measured my foot, and if I come up to about this area here, mine is going to be about 9 times my height is this height here. It's about 8 or 9 inches, right around there. Now, 9 times the Devil's Tower, to give you some perspective here, 9 times the Devil's Tower, and the Devil's Tower is twice the size of this, which is the Statue of Unity in India, which is this next to our Statue of Liberty if you're in the United States. And this is twice as big as this. And this, for the whole guy standing up, would be 9 times this much, approximately. So that's about 10,000 feet. That's that's 2 miles. Now that was the kind of stuff that Enoch was talking about. All I can say is what the ancient text said and what we can verify. I can see this. If you can't see this, that's not my issue. That is all bloody red tissue from some gigantic creature that fell down right in this place. And I think this must have been his other foot. And because there's red way over here, and there's mostly over here. I think he sort of just toppled over this way, as I think I previously stated. But this has got to be taken a whole new look at. We just can't just say, yeah, everybody was right, peer-reviewed, it's all settled science. No, it isn't. Everything that has been peer-reviewed is up for speculation now, 100%, because it's been denied to be able to be spoken about. So that makes it really, really skeptical as to what they're saying. Okay, so I guess I'm going to leave it at this. We're going to try to change everything and get all of this new mudfossil research and even electron flood theory and our ancient past and our history and everything has to be rewritten. Literally has to be rewritten. We'll take everything into account. I'm not making statements that I can't stand behind. I want other ones to make statements that challenge the statements I'm making. That's all I've been asking for. And if we have new species and we have new processes of fossilization and we have new chemistry and we have new light research and we have all that stuff, and it's just not allowed because it's too intrusive to these people's livelihoods. And I understand that, but they should make their livelihood at trying to learn, not to just to recite. And that's what's going on right now. They call them communicators, science communicators, physics communicators. They're indoctrinators is what they are. They're saying the same thing everybody else is saying, and peer review means if you don't say it, you're done. So that's why I had to do this, and we have to do this ourselves. It's not a big deal. You come to this school. I'm hoping it'll all be free. Rarely can you do anything for nothing. So somehow, there's going to have to be some support somewhere. I'm out of this just basically. I'm too old to get that involved. But I don't want to see this all just go under the rug. So that's what we're up against, and I have some helpers. Abby is helping me a lot. She's Abigail Miller. She's starting the Telegram channel, and hopefully that will direct you to the YouTube channel. And we're going to put on playlists of the things that excite you or that you're interested in. But really, everything now should excite you because everything is different than you were told. I'm telling you right now. As far as I'm concerned, if you can show me something that you were taught that still is 100% meaningful, and especially anything in the theoretical realm, I would love to hear it. And that's all I want, is to engage, questions and answers. I will try to provide answers if I can. Come up with the questions. I'm having people get a hold of me right now. I just had a guy say, I can come up with a dozen questions. Can you answer them? I said, absolutely. And he wants to do it live, and that's fine with me. Present them to me and take me off guard if you can. That's all. And if I can't answer it, I'll get back to you with something. But I'm ready to go, in most cases. I've studied this stuff for a long time. My mind is starting to give me a little hiccup here and there. I'm just old. So I might have to think about it or go back to some of my earlier work. But, we'll work this stuff through, that's all. If you're interested in honesty and factual history, even though it's shocking, I mean, it literally is shocking. And that's why it's not been examined. I know other people know this. Jesus Christ knew it. And all the people in history have been demeaned just as I have. So I'm hoping you can come along and make this right. All right? I love you all. Stick with me. Come up to the Telegram channel, and we'll see if we can get this thing spoken about worldwide. And if it has no meaning to you, that's fine. But I'm sure it's going to have meaning to a lot of people that never considered. Well, it already has. I've been slaughtered with people saying, I can't believe I never knew about this, or how would it change in my life. And a lot of times it's not for the best. A lot of people are perfectly happy deluded. They're PhDs. And I'm not kidding you. And you sometimes, and I've had actual PhDs tell me when I wanted to interact. I had one tell me, what are you trying to do, ruin my life? And it is. It's so intrusive to the academic mindset and the way that they do business that it's not allowed. So you are the ones who are going to have to gently sort of bring this about in your classes, in your friendships and so forth, and just don't sign on to it, or unless you want to. If you want to just be combative, which I tried that, it does not work. It doesn't work. The only way you might be able to get people to engage is to say, there's this crazy guy, you should see what he's showing. It's crazy, but I don't know. Just something like that, just really non-committal. The guy's, he's got to be nuts. But if you see what he's showing you, it's hard to, that sort of thing. I'm telling you right now, people don't like this. It's intrusive. It's a real shock to their systems, and really to their whole, everything in their whole life really should change, or should at least be thought about in light of this. You don't have to change anything, but you just say, wow, yikes. That's what I did, and I found out most people don't even want to say yikes. You just want to say, you're nuts, get away from me, the guy's crazy. And I'm getting more of that now than I ever did before. Because, anyway, I don't know what it is because of. I really don't know. But I do know that it's very difficult to get this word out. And my channel has been 183,000 subscribers. I only get a couple of thousand hits. Now, why? I don't know. So hopefully you guys are you're going to be the ones that have to spread the word. And I know it's difficult to approach anybody with this. I've had a lot of bad stories from people, and I understand that 100%. So do what you can. See if we can get this thing going. I love you all. All right? And I'm sorry about the first time I uploaded this. It didn't go out, so I backed it out, and now I really expanded on it, so now it's got very, very long. All right. Thank you all. I love you. Bye.